Our restaurants on Ossington Avenue are struggling to stay afloat in these unprecedented times. That's why the owner of a new restaurant called Favorites thought that a section of this parking pad on the south side of his building would be perfect for a patio. A crucial piece, he says, to sustaining his business long term for when this pandemic finally ends and patios can reopen. But a few days ago, Monty Juan got the crushing news that the Committee of Adjustment had refused his application for a minor variance, and he says he thinks he knows the reason why.
It's a dispute, I guess, with the neighborhood in a way, that they just felt that they didn't want it. They're concerned about loitering and noise concerns.
Monty Juan says he did everything possible to make sure the patio design would fit into the community. There would be no outdoor music and would adhere to a 10 p.m. curfew. He reduced the capacity as the committee requested. It would have included 2 high fences, both for privacy for diners and a noise buffer to the lane. He doesn't understand why anyone would object to it, but the Ossington Community Association, or OCA, did object and hired a lawyer to address the hearing committee, saying the zoning bylaws are in place for a reason and this was not a minor variance.
We got some pretty good legal representation to just stand up for the OCA position, and the guy who was arguing for us, he's very persuasive. Ben
Helly is the treasurer of the OCA and says he led the charge on behalf of the association. He pointed to numerous residents who opposed the idea and who sent letters to the planning committee to register that, mostly citing noise and privacy concerns.
The zoning bylaws are in place to kind of balance out people's interests, right, and sort of just regulatory capture who's going to sort of speak on the other side, right? And so what the OCA is sort of about, providing this kind of balance.
There are also letters supporting the plan on the city's website, and Juan says he's disappointed that city officials would not go to bat for him. When asked why the application was refused, the city said they could not speak to the specific case, but some of the reasons are it does not meet the intent of the official plan, it does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw, it is not desirable, and or the variance is not minor.
You don't want to upset anyone, so you try and make it work, but if somebody doesn't want you to have something, they can find a way.
Favorites opened at Ossington and Argyle in July of 2019. It was voted the best new restaurant by Toronto Life just before the March lockdown. The indoor component has been closed ever since, except for 1 month in September. He now says he must consider closing up shop altogether. It's just not viable with the way things are.
It's a tricky business to begin with, and if you can't figure a way to make that work, you need to drop at some point.
Juan owns 2 other restaurants. One is doing good business with takeout only. The other is struggling, he says. It's on Queen Street, which he says is beginning to look a bit like a ghost town, and thinks Ossington is not far behind.
You can see that, like, most of the businesses are closing down, and the city doesn't seem to be reacting to try and make it better and try and bring the businesses and try and keep them. And this is prior to COVID this was happening, and with COVID it just accelerated.
Monty Juan tells me he has 20 days to appeal the ruling, but says it'll cost close to $3,000 to reapply, and unless he can change his neighbors' minds, it would not be worth it. I'm Pam Seatle, City News.